Hey guys, what's up? Have you ever heard of game Botto against Buntic? Believe me, I've never heard about that game either, till today. But what you're about to see is absolutely the most beautiful game you've seen so far. I guarantee, and you can't say, and you can't oppose, and you can't simply deny that after you see it. So let's go. This was against Najdorf defense. The guy played with white pieces e4. He's FIDE master 2300. He played against the guy with the black pieces. I don't know his rating and what his rating was. The game was played in 2001, so like 23 years ago. And the following opening was there: e4, c5. Of course, we're having here knight of defense, knight f3, d6, d4. This is the most common opening in the world when it comes to, I believe, all the openings with the black pieces against d4. Second thing, of all the Sicilians, knight of defense is absolutely the most promising opening for black. And black just went for knight of defense, and lately I really enjoy in Sicilian variation for white, it's bishop c4. If you recall, Robert James Fischer was absolutely the best player of the Sicilian line in the world. He went for a bishop c4 almost on regular basis, and today I was just analyzing his game, actually his amazing, spectacular game against Michal Tal, where he won probably 60 years ago. Anyways, in that game, just like in this game, was e6, and you always go with a precautionary bishop b3. It's fighting against some b5 ideas with tempo, some d5 ideas. I'm just talking in some moments. And after you put your bishop back on b3, there are like 4 main moves for black. Since I'm always teaching you something, I'm just going to teach you how to play the Sicilian line against the Najdorf, so you can also take this video as one of lectures how to play Sicilian line. If they play bishop e7, which is usually a very suspicious move, you just go with g4. You want to chase this knight away on d7, and if that happens, then e6 becomes weak. And whenever bishop is on e7, you can consider sacking on e6, which at the same time is one of the weakest points for black in Najdorf defense. Then another line is knight bd7, where just black goes after the light square bishop, and even though it seems to be weak, you just go with this one, where one of the main and the most attractive line is what Nigel Short played against Kasparov with f4, knight c5, and then you just sack a pawn in the center, and they can't simply take a pawn, because then you just go with the Robert James Fischer with e5, attacking everything and leaving this king on e8 unprotected. b5 is absolutely the main move, and that famous game between Tal and Fischer was with f4, b4, knight a4, knight e4, castle, and they just played a game like this. And when Michal Tal played g6, fantastic move by Fischer, f5, opening up the f-file, going with full action onto these pawns, onto the king on e8, and Robert James Fischer won that game. And finally, the fourth, the last but not the least, is the possibility with knight c6. When they play knight c6, in some of these variations, they also transpose into the Rouser defense. And when that happens, you can just go with bishop e3, bishop e7, and queen e2. And there we go. I'd like to stop here, and I'd like to remind you that here, for the first time in my videos and in these lectures, and I believe I covered more than and made more than 400 videos here, I'm covering Valjovic Attack. Valjovic was a legendary Serbian GM. He was known for his attractive style, full of sacrifices, and he came up and he was known for his queen e2, short castle, opposite side castle position against Sicilian, against Najdorf and Rouser. And after queen c7, he always came up either with g4 immediately or with rook h to g1, which happened in this game. And this is Valjovic Attack. So you have this bishop that points out attack on the diagonal a2, g8. You always want to go with g4, g5 supported by this rook. Afterwards, you want to involve, once you kick the knight away with the queen h5, rook g4, rook g3, following by rook h4 or rook h3. Then you have these crazy knight jumps with a knight e5 and knight f5, and all things considered, Valjovic Attack is one of the most aggressive and most attractive openings in the world. For some reason, don't ask me why, nobody, but absolutely nobody, plays this variation nowadays. I don't know why. And if I'm here, and if I'm going to do with this video to kind of renew this opening and to actually bring you once again hope to play these variations, then I did a great job. And after like rook h to g1, this guy moved precautionary knight d7 because his knight in some of these lines goes on c5. And even though the light square bishop feels pretty bad, and sometimes it's a good piece, sometimes it's a bad piece, and because e6 is kind of weak in all these Sicilian variations, knight c5 is still one of the best ideas. Also, repositioning that knight on c5, you just want to go with b5, rook b8, a5, or knight b6, knight c4, knight e5, knight b6, knight c4. So many ideas. Anyways, white went with g4, knight takes d4, white captured by the bishop, and slowly but surely you can see that all his pieces are just joining onto the king's side into the attack. b5, g5, and b4. And guys, you're probably wondering what's so nice about this game. You're not even aware what you're about to see. I absolutely guarantee that what I'm about to show you is something, once again, most beautiful, attractive, spectacular, probably best game you've ever seen. For sure, it's the most beautiful for me up to this day. And how did I actually come up with this game? You won't be able to find it in the database. I was just reading some older version of the Chess Informant. When I go to my parents to have a lunch, I'm always picking up one of these old editions, because Robert James Fisher used to say when you prep some lines, you got to find something very, very old or something extremely new. I tend to find something old, and I just wanted to show my son something out of, like Sicilian variation, and then I found this game. There are 8 brilliances in this game, and this game, believe it or not, this is the move 15, and it lasted until move 24. 8 brilliances. Let's go. You can pause the video here and try to find a move for white. We're looking for initiative move. Move is queen h5. Boom. For the first time, we're seeing the first sacrifice here. It's a beautiful attacking game, a move, typical for Najdorf defense, typical for Rouser defense, typical for Sicilian defense. An idea of this one is to go with rook to d3 and rook to g3. But you're not going with a rook g3 and rook h3, because sometimes you'll need your rook here. What does it mean? If they take the knight, you're just involving the rook into the action, wanna go onto the king's side, and mate is gonna be unstoppable. You can have fun at home. If you found queen h5, congratulations, you found the move for initiative and the attack. In the game after queen h5, black realized that a b takes c3 simply didn't work and played knight e5. Knight e5 makes full sense. It first of all blocks this bishop. This one is pretty blocked as well. Knight is under the attack, and if you ask me, this position looks extremely, at first glance, suspicious for white. Now the second brilliance is coming. f4. Boom. What do you do with the f4? You're just attacking this knight, and also in some of these positions you're just hoping for f5 and f6, or f5 and g6 afterwards. I'm gonna show you a beautiful tactical pattern if black goes with a knight c6, and once again pause the video and find the best way to attack the black's game. If you said bishop f6, then you're a good guy. You play bishop f6, they can't stop queen h6 next with a mating pattern. This is fantastic mating pattern. I've seen so many times. I remember in block book combination art, I found a couple of positions like this, and I'm always fond of these kinds of sacrifices. If f4 and they take the knight on c3 again, you take the this one, c takes b2, bishop takes, so when they take on e5, it's not going to be with the tempo. You go rook g4, you want to reposition it here, you maybe want to reposition here. They always have problems on the diagonal, and white has an amazing attack. Black just played knight g6. He was threatening the pawn on f4. And after that, third brilliancy for white is coming. Pause the video and try to find it. If you found f5, you are spectacular, crazy guy who likes to attack. But if you played knight e2, you just have much better game, and even though your bishop is suffering on b3, you're overprotecting not only a pawn on f4, but also the knight on c3, and you just want to slowly carry on with the attack. If you like the engine will certainly show you knight e2, but if you like Michal Tal's type of chess, then you're gonna say f5. That's the third double exclamation mark move. Knight f4. We just have to see knight f4, and then after the game I was analyzing what if e takes f5, then knight d5, a typical idea of jumping with tempo and harassing both queen and the bishop. And after this, once again, this beautiful tactics, because when you take, and just when they take, but where is mate, then rook g6, h takes, queen g6, and the mate is on horizon. What happens if f5, b takes c3? Absolutely terrific continuation, rook d on f1, supporting the pawn on f5. And after c takes b2, king b1, now you want to play rook f3, rook h3, going after the mate. Everything looks to be so solid after rook e8, rook f3, bishop d8. Now the queen is defending on the 7th rank, rook h3, and just when you believe the mate is there, they go with the knight f8. But then we once again have to go with bishop g7, sacking the bishop, queen h6, and the next move will be f6 with checkmate. Just like you see in all these positions, simply we're just going with this massive pawn storm, all these, like generating all our minor pieces onto the king side and doing the attack. So after f5, black in the game played knight f4. This guy Boto played queen f3, threatening the knight. And now black played e5, defending the knight, attacking the bishop, and knight on c3. And even if during the game, I'll be honest with you, even if I analyze these type of things and positions, I would have sat here to myself, okay, but I'm having two minor pieces under the attack. That knight on f4 kicked my queen away from the king's side. Somehow my position doesn't look anymore that bright. This is once again chance for you to find a fantastic idea. For this one, you're gonna need 5 minutes, I guarantee. It's how to come up with an amazing attack and initiative at the same time. Pause the video and let's see what would you do. Whoever said g6, you guys are new Michal Tal, Alexei Shirov, and maybe Gary Kasparov at the same time. G6 is the move. Yes, G6 is the move. And look at all this stuff. Now G7 pawn turns out to be weak. Rook on G1 gets open. We threaten so many things. Knight d5, queen f4, g takes f7, h7, so many things. And let me just show you what's happening in this game. In case of e takes d4, he had to calculate that he takes. And when the knight is being taken, position looks okay, but we were missing the final shot. Pause the video and find the tactics. Da-da-da-da. Queen h6. Once again, a fantastic final touch. The thing is, remember when you have the bishop and the rook like this, if you take, you give check. This is the double check. And after you give this check, when the king goes on h8, boom, rook g8, checkmate. After like g6, what happens if the guy simply, instead of going with this, going with h takes g6? Then pause the video and find the move for white. It's queen takes f4. What a move. You're just sacking the queen. When they take the queen, believe it or not, you cold-bloodedly continue with your attack by taking on g6. So when they go with this, because you were threatening rook g7 with mate, rook g7, knight d5, threatening the queen and getting an important tempo, rook g1, threatening mate, and after this, bishop b6, they're just collapsing. Queen is almost trapped, but it's not about the queen. They can hardly defend it. Not hardly, they're just completely lost, and white is just winning. After g6, which happened in the game, finally, black decided to simply take his chances and to say, okay, guy, let's go. I'm finally going to take your knight. You won't be able to jump on d5 anymore, at least. Those are not going to be your options. But now you can actually guess, for all of you who found the 19th move g6, I guess you know what should be the next move for white. And pause the video and try to find the move for white. Once again, absolutely the most attractive move in the position would be boom, queen to f4. You sack the queen after you sack the piece, and here's the point. If they take the queen, you give check, so they can't have anything else. If they go like this, this is checkmate. So the king is just mated. If they go with rook f7, you give check, you play f6, and they're just falling apart. If they play bishop f6, it's absolutely spectacular, but right now we're familiar with this kind of a thing because we already had it 2 times in this lecture. It's queen h6. What a nice queen sack, and when you take, double check, as you know, and it's supported by this Southern bishop against Najdorf, and boom, it's checkmate. And finally, if e takes f4, I showed you the line. So after queen f4, black was also playing lots of amazing defensive moves. King h8. I like it a lot because he took the knight, and now he's leaving both of these pieces unprotected. Black says, okay, this wouldn't be the best game, and this wouldn't be the most beautiful game I would claim if I shouldn't continue in the next fashion. So he played g takes f7. He takes the pawn on f7 and says, if you take my queen, I'll deliver checkmate. If you take my bishop, Big Maya comes up with f6. But of course, it's not about Big Maya. It's about the guy, Boto guy, who's FIDE master, who's playing this with white pieces. And he probably had not the moment of his life, but he's not even aware that we're just analyzing his game and proclaim him to be like the most beautiful ever. So after like taking by pawn, you deliver check. But if they take by bishop, queen takes f6, g takes f6, and rook g8. Right now, when I show you these lines, I'm not taking like so much, not paying so much attention on these ideas because now they're repeating already. But so many things to learn after this game, and you just have to admit it. So after g takes f7, black played bishop f6. And when I analyzed today this game, I said, even if I somehow managed to find these moves, I would definitely be so much afraid of bishop f6 because I know when I play my games, this bishop f6 comes as maximum solidifying type of move for us. But the game didn't end up here. Once again, pause the video and find tactics. White moves and wins. Yes, that's the rook g7 idea. You're sacking another rook in this position, and you're just saying, if you take by king, baby, then rook g1, king h8, and we're delivering for the 5th time same mate. If you play e takes d4, I'm delivering checkmate. If you play e takes f4, once again, checkmate. So simply against rook g7, they have nothing else but to take by bishop. And the guy said once again, I want to finish this game in real style. He plays f6. What's the point? If he takes the queen, this is checkmate with these two pawns and these two bishops. A beautiful mating picture. If he takes d4, you just take on g7, play rook g1, and deliver checkmate on g8. And finally, when the guy played queen d8, hoping to at least somehow prolong his suffering, the guy said, okay, I'll definitely going to finish this game in style, and played rook g1. And of course, once again, if you take the queen, this is beautiful mating picture against the king. If you take the bishop, it's once again like this. And if queen takes f6, he would just go with this one, delivering checkmate. Finally, if bishop takes, now the rook and the queen, they're just defending the back rank, but you're first going to sack the queen and deliver the checkmate. You know what? After we've seen all these possibilities and all these mating pictures, nets, and the whole like picturesque game, I really have to ask you, have you ever seen anything like this? I haven't. Hope that you enjoyed in the lecture. Once again, this was the game played in Bosnia and Herzegovina 2001 between the FIDE master Botto 2300 and another guy, Buntic, who was also playing like lots of nice defensive moves. But this was so good. This was so beautiful. This was so unrealistic and at the same time creative by White. Play Valjovic Attack and be my guest. Bye bye.